Built as the primary motive power for the Great Western Railway in the early 20th century, the Great Western Stars gave birth not only to the most iconic designs for Britain's railways, but also the evolved Kings and Castle class. The Great Western Railway, one of the largest of the Big Four, actually has its roots date back to 1835 and grew over the coming years thanks to Isambard Kingdom Brunel. They were also known for the most unique, interesting, and fascinating designs that they would ever build for the railways. In the late 1890s, with the ever-increasing train loads becoming more and more apparent for the railway, William Dean, the CME of the railway at the time, had decided to retire, and he gave it up to his draftsman, George Jackson Churchward, which began a policy of standardization and upgrades to locomotive designs. In 1907, George Jackson Churchward and the Great Western Railway introduced the 4000 class, or the Stars. They were mostly common on express passenger trains that ran on all parts of the Great Western Railway, and because of their four-cylinder layout and their smooth riding, made them more economically friendly and easier to operate. Churchward designed the Stars, basing them on the Nord to Glen compounds from the Nord Railway in France and the La France engines that the Great Western Railway were convinced to try out. They actually proved to be highly successful, which led to the modification of the original Saint class of 1902, but their pilots would actually be used as part of the Great Western Stars when they were actually under construction. Construction of the Stars began in 1907, and the Stars were named after stars, knights, abbeys, kings and queens, later monarchs, princesses, and abbeys, the first locomotives to be named after buildings. The last one was complete in 1923 when the first castles were introduced. They were fitted with a Swindon Standard No. 1 boiler and a four-cylinder layout. The Stars became one of the most powerful engines that were ever built for Britain's railways at the time, and the first true 460 for express passenger services. The Stars express runs would take them to all parts of the Great Western system on expresses. These ranged from Bristol, Exeter, Cardiff, Swansea, Kingswear, Plymouth, and even far south as Cornwall. These engines were the primary express motor power for the Great Western system, and they were up until the early 1920s. With the increase of heavy train loads, the Stars were beginning to struggle, and Churchward's successor, Charles Collett, ended up designing what would be the most pinnacle of Great Western Railway locomotion, the Castles, which would later be evolved into the Kings. In addition to that, with number 40 being rebuilt from an Atlantic, its cylinder layout was also reused by Churchward's draftsman William Stanier for the LMS Princess Royals and the Coronations in the 1930s. The Stars would be replaced by the Kings and Castles, and they were downgraded to local services in the 1930s, with 15 Stars being rebuilt as Castles. They soldiered on throughout the Second World War and into nationalization, with withdrawals starting in 1951 with 100A Lloyds. The last Star, Princess Margaret, was withdrawn by 1957. During the 1950s, the Great Western Stars were slowly being phased out with the 7MT Britannia class, built by Robin Reynolds, and the first diesel locomotives that were used to haul high-powered express trains that they used to haul alongside the Castles and Kings. To keep the memory of the Western region's roots intact, the names of the Stars were transferred, such as 70021, Morning Star, and 9220, Evening Star, which became the last steam engine built by British Railways in 1960. The Great Western Stars, although haven't been involved in any serious accidents, was involved in an incident involving one. On the 15th of April, 1923, 4084 Princess Victoria was hauling a freight train when she had collided with a passenger train at Ruairidh in Somerset. The accident was due to signalman error when he didn't set the signal correctly. No one was seriously killed, though 9 people were injured, and the engine survived with minor damage. Apart from passenger trains that they were known to haul, the Stars were also known for hauling parcels and even milk trains, which also included local commuter trains heading out of the major cities, such as Plymouth, Bristol, and London. Most of the Stars have been withdrawn and scrapped by the present day, apart from one. 4003 Lodestar was withdrawn in 1953 and preserved as part of the National Collection. It currently resides at the Great Hall at the National Railway Museum in York as part of the National Collection, and it still stands to this day. To summarize, the Great Western Stars proved not only to be the grandest engines for the Great Western Railway at that time, but also the most important for Britain's railways, as its evolution and design would give way to the modern express locomotives that we would see throughout much of the 20s, 30s, and early 1940s.